Lawyers, what's a case you regretted winning? I was in for jury selection a few years back, and they were doing a voir dire of a business attorney in the box. You don't do any criminal work, correct? No, mostly real estate law. Okay, so what do you know about the practice of criminal law? Get the money in advance. Family law is a little different, in that you never really win per se. You may get more favorable rulings or better terms, but unless the opposing party did something illegal or mind-bogglingly stupid, it's never a decisive win really. Although I did have a case where my client fought really hard for the dog and then ended up turning him over to a shelter. Freaking a hole. The ex-wife received an anonymous tip and was able to get him back quickly. Family law has got to be an emotional mess for everyone. Your dog story reminds me of my parents' divorce. My mother got the family pets, but she had to vacate the home by a certain date, and anything that was left after that date was determined to be my father's property. Well, it came time to take the pets, and she thought she'd get in some brownie points with us kids by letting us have one last night with the pets before dad makes you lose them forever. Nope. The second she walked out the door, dad was on the phone with his lawyer to confirm that the pets were property and that by leaving them in the family home she gave up rights to them. Lucky for us, the judge agreed with that interpretation too. We only lost 2 of the pets and were able to keep 5 of them on a technicality. Chilean lawyer here. It's not my case. It was a case from one of my teachers. He is a government lawyer who have to defend criminals. Once he had to defend an old guy who was a pedo. That guy had AIDS, SIDA in Spanish. That's important later. This guy R-word on several occasions a young girl, but as the girl spoke too late, the police were not able to collect any physical evidence to charge him with a serious case. Once in court, the judge took notice of the guy having AIDS, so he ordered take some blood samples of the girl to see if she got AIDS. That could give some backup to the claims of R-word. Judge ordered 2 different tests. So, my teacher as the lawyer of the pedo, order a private test too. After the test of the court arrived, both of them were negative. The girl was clean, and with any evidence to back up the R-word case against that pedo, he was released and walk away as a free man. Some days later, an envelope arrived to my teacher's office while he was at medical leave. His coworker saw that it was from a case that was closed and botted to open them. When he arrived back to work, he opened it, saw the exams, and the girl was infected with AIDS. Those tests have 99.9% of accuracy, but that girl was that case that fail. She was in that 0.1% in both tests, made by different clinics. He was devastated and still felt bad about that girl to this day. The hardest to him was have to face the mother of girl and inform her what happened so she could take medical care and seek more legal actions. Prosecuted a assassination case. 21-year-old kid starts dating an older guy's ex-girlfriend. The older guy, real roughneck, loose connections with a local biker gang, was going all over his small town talking about how he was going to kick the kid's ass. The older guy sends some nudes of the ex while he's getting drunk at a bar, so the kid says something smart, but in response, older guy comes to the kid's house to fight him. The kid shoots him once, and the older guy passed away. Jury didn't buy self-defense or castle doctrine. Convicted of voluntary manslaughter. 20 years. Burned up his appeals with no luck. I have a son about the kid's age. I could totally imagine him doing the exact same things if he were in a similar situation. Shit's going to haunt me until I die. No doubt about it. Started thinking about other work the moment the verdict came back. Women wanted her daughter custody. We use the state preference about custody going to the mother, judge bias, her improved economical situation, and some minor garbage like her grades and discipline problems at school to discredit the dad. Not even a month after we won, the mother calls and says she had a problem. Then she explains the problem was that her BF R-word the girl, and after that she had the gall to ask we pick up his defense. One of the things that made me quit to gov work. I don't want to give away details because of where I work, but I will speak broadly about something that may or may not have happened. There are attorney guardians ad litem, GAL, who represent the best interests of children who have been adjudicated to be abused, neglected, or dependent. Dependent means that the child is dependent on state support, Think of both parents tragically passing without other family members. Part of the job is making recommendations to the court about when and in what manner children should be reunited with their parents after parents engage in services to prevent an incident from happening again. The child was abused. The parent did services for a year. The gal recommended the child be returned to mom. Mom got the child about a year later. That was a pretty sad one. Was representing the government at a social benefits tribunal. The applicant was an autistic man who was struggling to make ends meet, but was trying his absolute best to contribute everything he could to society. He had a job where his manager was very accommodating, and he was a very sympathetic person. He just wanted the extra cash to make his life a little easier for himself. Sadly, he didn't qualify for the benefit, but I think he deserved it. My closing argument was that no matter how much we empathized with this man, no matter how deserving we thought he simply didn't qualify, and the tribunal had to apply the law. He was unsuccessful, and when I left the building to head back to my office he was just sitting outside on the curb crying. That image has stuck with me for a few years. Pretty heartbreaking. I did some custody work early in my career and won some cases more on the merit of my trial skills than on the merit of the parents. The thing with family law work in general is that there is essentially no bar to entry. Anybody with a law degree and a pulse can get a family law practice up and running quickly because there is just an absolute glut of work. What that also means is that 75% plus of the lawyers practicing family law are clueless and awful. Early in my career I certainly was clueless, but at the least I was not awful. Therefore, in a battle between clueless plus AWFUL versus just clueless, clueless usually won. So yeah, I can't recall any specific cases, except to say that fighting over children in court is a terrible thing and basically everyone loses. I regret that entire portion of my career. I did some custody work early in my career and won some cases more on the merit of my trial skills than on the merit of the parents. The thing with family law work in general is that there is essentially no bar to entry. Anybody with a law degree and a pulse can get a family law practice up and running quickly because there is just an absolute glut of work. What that also means is that 75% plus of the lawyers practicing family law are clueless and awful. Early in my career I certainly was clueless, but at the least I was not awful. Therefore, in a battle between clueless plus AWFUL versus just clueless, clueless usually won. So yeah, I can't recall any specific cases, except to say that fighting over children in court is a terrible thing and basically everyone loses. I regret that entire portion of my career. There was a case that I saw that involved a claim with fee shifting, meaning that if the plaintiff won, their attorney's fees would get paid by the defendant. Defendant pushed an aggressive legal position at trial that the judge agreed with and won, avoiding a few thousand in liability to the plaintiff and a few thousand in attorney's fees. So far so good. But then the plaintiff appeals all the way to the state's high court, requiring a ton of briefing and time. High court agrees with plaintiff, reverses and sends back to the trial court, which now enters judgment against the defendant for a few thousand in damages against the plaintiff and tens of thousands of dollars in attorney's fees from the appeal. The defense lawyer probably regretted winning at first on that aggressive argument to the trial court. I know that my dad had a series of cases against one company. My dad won all of the cases, but that resulted in him losing my mom through a divorce and almost all of his money and almost losing a chance to have any other jobs. The company he won to was a big company and a sore loser, so after the company lost, they spread rumors around about my dad, causing it to make it difficult for him to get a job. This all happened years ago, and he's still struggling financially. Oh, and a quick notice, my mom didn't leave him because he lost money. She left him cause she begged and begged him not to fight the company, but my dad did it anyways and I guess that was the last straw for her. Shadowed on a personal injury case. Their client was drinking in one of our guys' bars and gets wasted, becomes abusive to staff, and then storms out, falls down the stairs. C6A should be incomplete spinal injury, severe loss of mobility and sensation. His people sue, and we force them to accept contributory negligence and personal liability. He gets an okay payout that covers his legal fees and immediate needs, and is left disabled. Even if it was seen to be his fault, it was still hard thinking that his life will never be the same just because of one rowdy night. Spinal injury care is massively expensive and the money he received wouldn't be sufficient for his whole life.